Tonight we're talking about events and why vendor events are actually a connection machine and not just a sales booth. Introduction, you guys know who I am, but I've had over 6 years of vendor experience. I started out shy and unsure what I was doing, and that means literally anyone can do events because if I can do them, you can do them. And you learn as you go. You learn tips and tricks along the way. Even just this season, I've learned a lot of tips for the next event and the next event. And confidence in events comes like everything by taking action. I've experienced both at events. I've had 1,000+ days at a vendor event, and I've enrolled 17 people and 140 connections at these were at separate events. So sales and enrolling and connections. So I'm going to tell you why one is preferred over the other. So after an event, have you ever left feeling discouraged? Maybe you've talked to a lot of people, but by the next day, maybe they don't remember your name. And to be honest, you've talked to so many people that maybe you don't remember their name. You left with some sales, but maybe that was it. Like that was the end of the event. It's done, it's closed, nothing for the future. Maybe it feels like you wasted your time because you're like, I only had one sell, and you worked your booty off because you were there all day long. If you think vendor events are for sales, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. So I want you guys' participation. When you focus heavily on sales at an event, what do you actually gain from that?
When you focus on heavily on sales at an event, what do you actually gain? I mean, the goal would be to gain money.
Yeah. Anything else? When you sell stuff, you're making money. Is there anything else you're getting from that?
Well, when I do the event, I like to at least make my table back, and
Okay.
then whatever else I make will be a profit.
Yeah. So sales, you make back your vendor fee and have the potential to make profits, which ultimately is you're making money, right? At the event, money. Um, Great answers. So, same things you guys were talking about. It's a one-time transaction, one-time income, one moment of excitement, maybe a customer that may never return. It's a dopamine hit that disappears by Monday because you forgot about the event by the next day, right? There's no long-term relationship unless you're actively creating one. So now let's talk about connections. If you're focused on connections at your event, what will that give you that maybe a sell by itself might not?
It's I did an
That's
event last year, and then I got a notification I have an order. I don't know the person. My husband doesn't know the person. I'm going to say, where did I get this order from? Happened to be from one of my events last year, and she's ordered a few times already.
Awesome. So it can happen. You can get repeat customers from just focusing on orders. Millie, what were you going to say?
yeah, I was just going to talk about the connection and building that relationship. I think about um, there was a couple years ago when I did an event. It was like, I don't know, I think there was like maybe it was 6 times at the same place. And so there were like repeat people that would come back. So when there's a repetition and talking with somebody, you're building the relationship deeper.
Yeah. Definitely. You're building that connection, right? The whole point of connections is you're actually getting to connect with the people more. So you're going to get someone that sees your content daily because you've made a connection beyond the vendor event. You have a warm relationship instead of just giving a cold sales pitch. A future customer, maybe a teammate, maybe they're going to give you future referrals. They're going to compound trust over time because they're seeing you over and over again. Momentum that grows even when you're not physically talking to them because again, they're seeing your content that you're putting out, they're following you. And it's someone that's entered your world, not just you saw them one day at that vendor event and you may or may not ever see them again, but they're actually like seeing you consistently. They're in your world, which I thought was such a cool like thought that they're now in your world. I don't know. I've said it so many times, but I just thought it was a really cool thought. So, which would you rather have? One, cells where it's money done, or two, connections where it's long term, more money, better connections, better outcome?
Yeah, it's
I
definitely
would
the second one.
say connections.
Yeah, it's kind of an easy answer because obviously more is better, right? So cells are momentary, connections are momentum. We talked about that going through both of them, how cells is just the day of, and it's great if you need a income boost, great. But if you're looking at the long-term picture of your pharmacy business, connections are the momentum to grow your business exponentially. So again, kind of repeating, a cell pays you once, a connection has the potential to pay you repeatedly in trust, visibility, referrals, teammates, and ultimately that leads to your bigger paycheck. Humans don't convert because of the product, they convert because they feel safe enough, familiar enough, and connected enough to you. And I know you guys are seeing that in your Facebook content. The more people are getting to know you and see you showing up, they're wanting to try the product because of you, not necessarily just because of the product, but because of who you are and what you're showing up as. And so let's talk about the real goal of an event. Your number one job is to get a way to stay connected with them. You don't want someone to come into your booth and walk away and you're never going to see them again. If someone comes in your booth, you want to have that contact with them for a future follow-up because that is the gold in vendor events is that after the event, you're still in contact. So, how are we going to connect with them? You could get their email or phone number, but honestly, they're probably not going to check their emails and they may text you back, they may not. So, that's not the best way. Business cards, you can spend money and print them out. Bella, get down. Oh my gosh. But what are the chances that business card gets lost, is thrown away, or in a junk drawer? I know people give me business cards all the time, and I can't think of a single time I've gone back to the business card to contact them. It just gets lost somewhere. So it's better than the email or phone number, I would say. Maybe. I don't know. About the same, actually. So, social media. You want a place where they're gonna see you tomorrow and the next day and the next day, right? Because like that's a forever connection, not a piece of paper or an email that is gonna get lost in the chaos of life. So why Facebook? Because people are familiar, sorry, people buy from people who are familiar. We talked about that before, how they're gonna start seeing you, connecting with you, and building that relationship. They're going to see your life, they're going to see your story, and they're going to see you. They're going to see your content, and they're going to warm up without you having to chase them, which I love because then we're not being salesy, we're not being spammy. We're just authentically showing up, and they're seeing us show up. So let's go to actual vendor day and how to maximize vendor days. And obviously, the main thing is to get them in your booth, right? You want someone to come in, you want to be able to talk to them. So ask an engaging question to draw them in, not a yes or no question. And why is that? Does anyone?
Because yes or no, they can just walk by and say no or yes.
Yeah. So yes or no, exactly. They're just gonna say yes or no and walk on by. So these are my two favorite questions to ask that are open-ended because it really makes them pause and stop to think because they're like, wait, that's different than what someone else is asking. And it's what's your name? Because names are so important. People love that you took the time to get to know them. And what do you know about pharmacy? I typically use what's your name, and it's actually kind of funny when people come in, they pause because their brain's trying to register and they're like, good, and you, because they're so on autopilot. Every single other vendor is, how are you doing? And good, right? We're going to
Mhm.
stand out and say something different. Their brain's trying to figure out, and then that brings them into pause, and then you can have that conversation with them. And if I've had this as well, where they're still outside of the booth and I ask them about pharmacy and they're like, oh, I've heard of it, and kind of quickly walking away, chances are there's other companies that sell similar products, but they have subscriptions, they have auto ships. It's not pharmacy that they're thinking about. And so I try to challenge them. I'm like, it's not what you think. Let me show you. And then they pause and we start to talk about those things because I know they're thinking those things. Um, Get to know them and their struggle. So again, before they even get into your booth, have some signs that share some common struggles. So I have, I don't know, let's see if I can get, I couldn't see myself. These little papers that go over these topics. So healthier hair, skin and nails, natural energy boost, less bloating, inflammation, better sleep. Just things that people are going to easily relate to, probably at least one of these, right? So I'll send this to you guys later too, so you can have all this information. Um, but once they see that, I've had people actually come in my booth and be like, all right, what do you have for better sleep? What do you have for hair? Or I see them stopping to read the signs out front on the canopy, and that gives me a chance to talk to them because they've paused their reading. I have their attention on my booth, not on someone else's booth. So when they come in, we start conversations about what are must-haves for them personally. Get to know them. What do they need? What are their struggles? And phrase them as must-haves. Like, not, well, you could try whatever, but like, these are like, you need these basically. Like, be confident in what you have to offer because our products truly are amazing. What if they ask you something that you don't know the answer to, though?
Um, look it up together. I don't know.
Oftentimes, oh, Gal, did you have something?
Well, like you would get back to them. I mean, you could get their information.
Mhm. Yes, exactly. That is a great way to get their contact info
Mm,
because we have over 500 products. Like, there's no way you're going to know everything about everything, right? That's impossible. And you don't have to know everything about everything. So,
Mm.
simply by saying, you know, I don't know, but I will look that up for you and then get their info. And that gives you an easy way to follow up because now you're doing a service for them by looking up something specifically for them, and they're going to appreciate that. This is my favorite thing that I learned from another training, and I'll send the link to that as well. But you go through the whole process. They're talking about the shampoo, you're talking about their hair growth, and they're ready to purchase. Simply say, if you let me ship it to you, it'll save you 50%. Done. Who doesn't want to save 50%, right? Like the obvious answer is going to be yes. And then you just say how it works is there's a little sampler box for $20 and it unlocks a 50% discount. No recurring fees, no whatever. Like keep it super short and simple, but who doesn't want to save 50%? And then oftentimes because I don't have a ton of product sitting there, they're all samples. Like I don't have product to sell necessarily. So I'm gonna have to have it shipped to me anyways. Why not just ship it to them? Right?
mhm.
So it's just a really easy transition. And then I get their phones and I go through the process with them on their phone. I fill out all the information, find all the products, make it super simple. Like you know where all the products are, you know how to search, get it all to the checkout process. And then once you have all that, not earlier, I always like to share all the info so you don't miss out and then talk about whatever promos we have. What promos are they close to? We always have at least two. 125 for their welcome program and 125 every month there's that extra freebie. So that's two free products for getting to 125. That's only after everything is in their cart because you don't want to push that too early. But that's a great way to talk about any promos at the end before they check out. And then I like to just let them know, even if they're signing up just for themselves, I let them know, hey, if your friend shops on your link, it'll count towards that 125 as well. So just I plug the income as well. But what if they're not ready to commit? What if they're looking at the product and then they will start to walk away? How can we capture their information to follow up with them? Because they were interested, they came to your booth, they were talking about stuff, but they're just not quite there yet. My favorite is can I send a digital info card? Oftentimes people like, do you have a business card? And I have a stack of papers that I've printed out. I could hand them one, but they're gonna throw that in the trash, right? That's not gonna
Yeah.
end up with a contact. I have no way to contact them. So can I send a digital info card? And then they're gonna say yes because duh, they want information. Do you mind if I add you on Facebook? They say yes. Maybe they say no, and then I get a phone or email. That's last case scenario. Like I've only had a handful of people that wanted that route, but This is something I learned from my vendor events this year because I've had people come back to my booth a year later and I go to look them up on Facebook and I'm like, hey, you never accepted my friend request. And so I couldn't message you. So now on the spot, I say, can you go ahead and add me back right now? That way I know we are friends. I can message them when I get home. And then as they're walking off, I take a screenshot of their Facebook account that we're friends. That way I can have a face to their name. And I go to my notes app on my phone and I write down as much as I can remember about our conversation. What products were they looking at? What were they struggling with? Who was with them? What did we talk about outside of pharmacy? Just any little detail that I can have about who this person was. Because you're going to be talking to a lot of people. You're not going to remember all these people, but when you message them, that's gonna make them feel so noticed and seen that you remembered some tiny little detail about your conversation. And sometimes when my booth is super crazy, I can't get tons of information, but when someone comes up, I'll say, hold on just 1 second, let me just write down a note really fast. And people are usually pretty patient to at least get one thing written down. So after the event, the most important part I would say is the follow-up because you did all of this work, but if you're not actually following up with these people, what was the point, right? Like we want those continued relationships moving forward. So we're going to personalize that message from the notes that you wrote down. Hey Lexi, it was so fun meeting you at the museum event today. I like to say where we met for them to remember, but also for me to remember our connection later on. I'm so
Mhm.
glad you came over for the day so we could connect. I enjoyed getting to learn more about your interest in hot springs and just our conversation in general. Before I forget, I want to put it on me that I don't want to forget. We had talked about me sending over the info about the clean European standard products we briefly talked about. Can I still send that over to you? I ask a question at the end. I ask permission, take note of that, and they're going to say yes. And if they don't respond immediately, we can follow back up and, hey, just want to make sure you saw my message. You were interested. Can I still send that? Um, then make it simple for them to respond because they don't know what pharmacy is. They heard you talk about it for 2 seconds at the event. So we're going to make it super easy for them to respond back to. Awesome, because it's a lifestyle company, there are a lot of categories to look at, so it can be overwhelming at first. Is there an area category that you might benefit from? And I can send some recommendations to look at to help make it simpler to navigate. And I would probably even change this to always learning and adapting to which area would you benefit from? Like I'm just going to assume one of these areas is going to benefit them. And
Mhm.
then the possible areas you'll notice are those same things that were on my little signs earlier. So they've seen it twice now. So that repetition is going to help them connect with what pharmacy is. And then after they say one, take the time to ask questions before recommending any products. They might tell you skin. Well, what's going on with your skin? Do you have oily skin? Do you have dry skin? Do you have like what is going on? Hair. What's going on with your hair? Like talk me through your hair. Ask lots of questions because if you just send a link really fast because it's like, oh, obviously like collagen's great for hair, that's salesy. So we want to get to know them, connect, build that relationship with them. And then I mentioned those questions before, permission-based marketing always. Why is permission important?
I, so it's like a conversation and not just you're forcing yourself on them. It's a two-way thing.
Absolutely. And also, if you aren't asking and you're just like, here's the link to whatever, like that's very, I just want your money, salesy, spammy. But by you asking them, you're letting them be in the driver's seat. They're in control of the conversation, even though we're leading it. They're gonna feel safer and more open to continuing the conversation. So, some examples, can I send whatever? Can I send info on whatever? Can I send the link to whatever? Do you mind if I put a list together of some possible things that may help? Just always asking before you send more information. There's a way to get stuff 50% off. Can I tell you more about that? Just question, permission, asking before you send. You'll get a lot farther in conversations that way. It's made a huge difference for me since I started doing that. So, just some questions, tips at the end here. How much product do I need? I was talking to Gail about this before we started the recording, but whatever you're currently using, if you're using the shampoo, put it out there. If you're using the coffee, put it out there. If you're literally whatever you currently love and use, put out on your display. It doesn't have to be used as a tester. It doesn't, you're not going to sell it, it's yours, but it's a visual of, and you're passionate about it. You know these products, you know what they do. So what you're using is the best product to have out there. And then if you do want to sell a product, have backups of whatever you already use because you're going to use it. You're not keeping a bunch of inventory, random inventory. It's just, if I don't sell it, I'm going to use it. But ultimately, obviously, we want them to create their own account and ship it to them anyways. But if you are serious about growing events, then begin expanding and take advantage of like Farmasi has so many promos where you get free product, super discounted product. There's freebies every single month. I have so many freebies, but I would rather have them enroll than buy at my events. But let's make connections and grow. I had a couple more tips that I was going to share really quick that I wrote down. One, I also learned from that other training was show up with no makeup. Do your makeup at
Mm.
the event little by little. And also, you get to sleep in a little bit longer because you're not doing your makeup at home. So that was a win. But people are going to see you testing products, smell perfume. I've had guys like at neighboring booths or even out there. I'm like, hey, can you do me a favor? I only have my husband's opinion on the men's cologne. I would love to know which your favorite is. Kind of get their interest over by them helping you. And then that's going to start the conversation. And then the wife can come over too. But I had four guys sign up, one for the cologne. So, like, men are there too, wanting our products as well. And be sure to engage with them. Like, if they come in with the wife and you're talking about whatever problems for her, be like, hey, there's men's stuff too. My husband uses X, Y, and Z. My favorite is like when the guy comes in with a beard and I'll just like throw in something about like beard care. Because then he's thinking, oh, hey, it's for me too. It's not just makeup.
Hmm.
So those are just my little tips at the end. Do you guys have any questions?
Do you ever do
Like
like,
these,
oh, go ahead, Gal.
yeah, like these tips will come in handy for me since I mean, it's not a pharmacy fair that I'm doing Saturday, but it's a fair,
Yes.
so these tips will come in handy.
Awesome.
Do you ever do like any type of a giveaway or anything like that, like to um entice people to do that 50% off or um yeah, I'm just trying to think through things
Not
like
to
that.
do the 50% off because 50% off is an incredible deal.
Right.
I don't feel like I've never needed to be like, you need more than 50%. Like
Yeah.
they're more than happy to save 50%. I had a giveaway, just sign with a QR code to create a customer account, but honestly, I would rather have the conversations than spend the time for them to do that. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, the connections were more important, and I took that sign down because I was like, I'm able to get them into my booth just talking to them and getting their
Mm-hmm.
interest. So I would rather have not spend the time. Let's scan the QR code and enter whatever when it's like
Yeah.
I want to get to know you and what you
Kind
need.
of a distraction.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, so when you, so you're talking with them, you're making the connections and finding out what their struggles are, what products, they would best need to use. Um, how do you get them to then go to the website? Do you say, I'll text you the link, or I'm trying to think of like practically how, do you have a QR code that you have them scan?
So I just get their Facebook because
Okay.
I've had their numbers, but then I'm like, I want them to see my content. Like I
Yeah.
want them seeing other products that maybe they're not looking at right now. So I'm just like, hey, what's
Yeah.
your Facebook? And then I send it on Messenger right there. I open up on
Yeah.
my phone and then I go through it for them on their phone because it's a lot of information
Mm-hmm.
looking up products. So I can do it faster for them. I'm like, here, like fill
Yeah.
this out. But yeah, I just Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, that's smart because the goal is to get connected on social media anyway.
Yeah.
So if you're like, um, I'll get you, the link directly to the Facebook. Then you know that they're added as a friend. And then also they can see like the website on their phone. So it's already like a familiar device and they know like how to operate their phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think if I have any other questions. Oh, I remember that the event training that I listened to also was that if you let me ship this to you, it'll save you 50%. Um, and what was underneath that? There was a line that said something else. Um,
It was about the $20 sampler
oh
box.
yeah, yeah, the sampler box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I only
I
asked
start
that after they say yes to letting me ship it to them.
right. Yeah, I've always had or I've had people that are like, "Wait, what? It's 50% off. Like how does that work?" And there's no fee like which I was the same way. I was like, Where's the catch? Like where's the point where it's going to be like, I got you.
Yeah. And I've had a mom and daughter, adult daughter that were there, and she was like, I could see she was worried about her elderly mom creating an account. And I was just like, my 91-year-old grandma has an account. And she's like, oh, okay. Like, there literally is no catch. Like, I wouldn't have my grandma create an account if there was like a
Yeah,
catch to it, right? So, like, just reassuring them, like, you even call it out and be like, you may be thinking like what's the catch, but like there truly is not one. And like
yeah.
just call out their concern and address it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that the one event that I had at my sister-in-law's house and the lady like she had her phone up and she was creating the account and then she's like, "Wait, they need my social security number?" And I said, "Well, you don't have to actually put that in there unless you're planning on selling." But then even like her phone number and her email address, she didn't want to give that either. So I was just like, okay, I don't know. You're a little paranoid, that's so I can't help you there.
And maybe you could reach back out and have her put someone else's email or number in. Like you,
Yeah,
you can put in create a spam email account for it.
yeah, yeah. So, but I did touch base with her, and she was like, "I basically have too much stuff, and I don't know. We'll see if anything comes out of it, but
Yeah.
some connections just are a dead end."
I wouldn't say it's a dead end. Just keep that seed watered.
Yeah,
And if anything, she can just buy from you as a customer, and that's not bad too. 50.
yeah. Well, then she was like,
Yeah.
I think I'd rather pay full price." I was like, "Okay, that's fine."
Then go that route. I'll take your
Yeah.
money.
I'll take that 50% commission.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Okay. No.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming. I hope it was helpful. There is still time to get events in for the holidays. You guys, people are looking for gifts for everyone. Another sign I have is just one stop, every gift, every stocking, and then I list like who they could shop for. And a lot of people were reading that from far away as well because they're like, huh, like husband is on there and kid and like everyone. And so that's kind of one thing to get people to stop as well. And I also have eliminate 1,300 harmful chemicals from your home because a lot of people I've had, there was like a teenage girl from far away that ran over. Do you have a business card? Because my mom would love this kind of stuff. And so
Hmm.
like people are looking for cleaner things and we have that. So this is the best way to make those connections. And I've had people that are my friends in real life for years stop by my booth and say, I've been seeing your content. Tell me more about X, Y, or Z. Like
Yeah.
they're watching. And I asked one, I was like, why did you never message me? And she said life was just busy and she never got around to it. So, like, they want to know, they're just busy. So getting yourself out there, whether on social media or in person, but especially in person, 140 contacts that I would not have had if I didn't
Mm,
do these events. 14 teammates, 17 teammates, four were men. Like, there's people out there that want pharmacy, they want the products, they want the income, they want what we have, and it's our job to go out there and let them know that it's an option, right?
mhm.
So. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your evening and thanks for hopping on with me.